2, connecting 1, 2. Make sure we get the questions going, Paul.
Hold on.
How are you?
Just let me have a look. Oh, yeah, have a channel in a second. Just have a look. Yeah, motorbikes.
Strong. How are you?
Should be
Good, yeah. Oh, good afternoon. Oh, we just got my little man.
good. Stand up.
My little grandson's just floating around out near his mum. Hey, DJ, keep it down, boy. Sweet little man. Good afternoon. I'm Rick Smith from Havenwood Tiny Homes. So great that you can join us this afternoon, or join me this afternoon. Shani's a bit flat out. She's organising stuff inside, and had a great week this week. It's been flat out. It's just like people ask me, how you going, Rick? Like, I'm flat out like a lizard drinking. Like, it's just crazy. It's just bedlam, you know. There's always something going on, you know. It's not cows in the paddocks, it's delivering tiny homes or building tiny homes or all this sort of stuff. And anyway, I'm just loving it. It's just, I think I've hit my second innings. I sort of got 50 a good couple of years back, and I'm thinking I'm just going to wind down a little bit now and watch my cows grow in the paddock. And I was just sort of reflecting back on a couple of years ago when we first got into tiny homes. It's like come out of high-rise construction. I thought I'd wind things back a bit now, and we've got a bit of a farm going on. We've got my Murray Grey cattle in the paddocks growing away, and I'm thinking, well, just to keep me sort of toe in the pool when it comes to construction, I thought I'll knock up a couple of tiny homes, you know, each year, and that'll sort of put a bit of bread on the table and happy days. And anyway, one thing led to another, and council wasn't happy with us building on using battery drills on 50 acres, so we had to go and lease a factory, and then of course had to go on the road and to sell tiny homes, because now I've got to pay for a lease in the factory, and now it's gone dunk, dunk, dunk all the way up there. Then we outgrew that factory in about a month and a half, and now we're in a bigger factory, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like, what happened to sort of winding down? But anyway, as it turns out, the second innings is going sort of redlining at the moment. It's going flat out, so all good fun, loving it, fantastic, and just keeping my feet wet when it comes to construction, which is so good, you know. But hey, listen, we've had a great week. Another delivery this week up to Coaldale, and the rains were coming. We knew they were coming, but I had this window of opportunity. I had about 2 hours, a window of opportunity to get there. And anyway, we got there, but had a couple of dramas on the way. Oh my gosh, don't even go there. It's like, honestly, I don't get paid enough money to do this stuff. The easy part's building them, like the hard parts are deliveries. It's like there's always something going on. Anyway, long story short, if anyone's got any delivery of tiny homes going from north from Wollongong up through to, say, Stanmore Park, don't worry, I've cleared the way. I've cleared the way when it comes to power lines. Okay, service mains, gone. Long story short, took out a set of service mains. Obviously, they were below regulation height, less than 4.6 metres high, and it was quite. I'm thinking, how in the heck did they come down? But I even had the ski ramp things on the front, because I did a bit of a drive-by up there to check it out, and anyway, they're obviously well below industry standard, the supply mains, and they're on an angle. So what it's done is it's got caught under the gutter before it hit my ski ramp, and anyway, rang a few of my contacts when it comes to level 2 electrical guys, and they're all either interstate or up out at Campbelltown or something like that, and I'm sort of sitting there and I'm going, Lord, I need someone here to sort this power out straight away. I've got live power sitting on the road. I've got a tiny house to deliver. I've got rain coming in 2 hours. I've got things to do, and thank you, Jesus. Along came energy. What do you call them? Integral energy, and just like that, bam. It's like anyway, old mate. I said, listen, obviously these are below height and rah rah rah. He said, no, all good, man. We'll sort it out. You go on your way, and we got it under control. So. That was awesome. That was a great result. Anyway, long story short, we got the tiny house delivered. Had to do a bit of prep on site before we actually got it into position. Probably about an hour or so of prep work with my bobcat before I got there, and cleared a few trees and a few shrubs down the road. Then had to level the pad, and then back up the road, disconnect the tiny home off the truck, hook it up to the bobcat. I got a special jig on the front of the bobcat to be able to tow the tiny homes, and go down quite a steep incline to get into the position onto this 1 hectare lot in up at Coaldale. And so what I've done is, I knew it was quite steep, so I've actually pulled the handbrake on the tiny home going downhill, because my Bobcat's only 3 tonnes. The tiny home's about 4.6, 4.7 tonne. So ultimately, it would have pushed me. I probably would have jackknifed going down the hill. But with the handbrake on, it just sort of slowed it down and helped me. With all these deliveries, these little hairy ones, I'll get one shot at it, because when you're pulling that sort of weight with a Bobcat and you downhill, you can't just push it back uphill again. You get one shot to get the angles right and the lay of the land and where you're going and that. So it's I tell you what, it really is hairy. It's not easy, but I do it, and because most tiny homes, they're going into areas where people, they want to be secluded. They're all sort of out of the way areas. Not just us, but all the other tiny home builders, no doubt, they're the same. A lot of these tiny homes are actually going into areas where it's hard access. You can't just drive in a truck and just dump it on flat ground. It's always on a slope, or there's trees, or there's gullies, and all this sort of stuff. So there's a lot going into it. And building the tiny homes, like I said, no problem. But the tense part is the actual deliveries. I really, I suppose, lose a lot of sleep's the wrong word. I'm focused. When I turn up on site and I'm ready to go, I sort of nicely say to the owners, listen, there's your tiny home, it's on the back of the truck, but right now I've just got to focus. I don't have time to talk. I just got my mind on the job. I know what I've got to do, and it's all systems go, you know. And but obviously once she's in position, happy days, and we shake hands and away we go, you know. So it's good fun. Anyway, got some exciting news. I'm not going to tell you now. I'm just going to hang fire on that. I'll tell you a little bit later in the program. We've got some exciting news coming up. And but I had a heap of questions coming this week. I've sort of refined it back a bit, because I don't want it to drag out too long, because you'll probably get sick of listening to me after a while. So I'm going to crack straight into it. Number one, can we enlarge our windows bigger than your standard windows? As you know, I've spoken a few times on our lives that we build the standard size windows to suit the room sizes. So because I come out of construction, I know the specs on the window sizes, so for light and for air, the size of the window to suit the proportionate size room. Now, we do that because it's just what I do. But when it comes to actually building bigger windows, making larger windows, of course we can make larger windows, but you've got to take into consideration, when you start going for these massive windows, a couple of things that happens is, first, you're going to lose a lot of thermal insulation through the glass of the windows. It's not economical to double glaze those windows. It's just too expensive. They're too heavy, and it's just don't even go there. So then you've got to start putting window coverings on, because then with these massive glass windows. It's all right if you're out in the middle of the mulga somewhere and no one's floating around, but if you're in an area where there could be bushwalkers or stuff like that, or farmers that floating around, you don't want to be living in a fishbowl. So I like to do the proportionate size windows, but in saying that, yes, we can enlarge the windows. We can go as big as you like to a point. We obviously evaluate structure. With every time you cut in a window, it's taking out structural integrity of the walls. So because we build, as you're aware, we build out a refrigeration panel, so you can't cut too big openings, otherwise you don't have enough bracing. And obviously, as I mentioned, the bigger the windows, you're going to start losing the thermal comfort of your tiny home. I mean, at the end of the day, if you really want the good view, just walk outside, because as you're aware, we've got our decks and awnings. Walk outside, look at the view, but keep your home proportionate. That would be my recommendation anyway. But in saying that, yes, we do the bigger windows. Okay, I live in the Snowies. What do you do in construction for extreme cold? Well, a couple of things. We've got a couple of these going through at the moment. Our clients have upgraded. What we do on our standard home, on the outside of our tiny homes, once we've got the structure, so we've got our 75mm cool room panel, then we'll batten that for all our services, and then we'll put sarkin over the top of that, which is only like 0.5 of a millimetre. So we upgrade this, the outside sheeting covering around the tiny home to a 4mm insulation blanket. Okay, so it goes right around the whole home. So effectively just putting in like a big sock, you know, so it really helps with the insulation of the walls, but on top of the 75mm solid polystyrene. And then in the floor of the tiny homes, we upgrade that from our 15mm structural ply and 4mm mat underneath. We upgrade that to our 50mm Bondor paneling, so across the whole floor. So now, what we're talking, the whole tiny home, fully encased. This is just like an esky now. Underneath, walls, roof, the whole lot is totally surrounded, full circumference in refrigeration panel. This is foolproof. This is like top shelf stuff, and probably cost you a couple of grand extra, but I think if you're in the snowies, definitely worth the improvement or upgrade to our insulation that we do on the in the really cool climates. You know, I'm in the project home construction at the moment, looking at getting into tiny homes. Any advice for a startup company? Oh, great! Yeah, there's a few companies starting to come into play now, which is awesome. I think it's like if you're going to go into a new town, the hairdresser's there, set up shop next to the hairdresser that's already there, because there's bound to be someone unhappy with that hairdresser. So you'll pick up 50% of the business straight away. But hey, I reckon it's awesome that people are starting to get into the industry. What it's doing is making more awareness of tiny home construction and tiny house builders. And a lot of there's a lot of stuff you can pick up on the net, looking at other builders, checking out what they're up to, have a look how they build. Like don't try to recreate the wheel, you know, like have a look at guys that are already into it, guys that have been in the industry for quite a few years, and that way you'll start to pick up, they've sort of learnt from their own mistakes, I know I have, and you start to improve, and you're always constantly trying to improve your product for our clients. So my biggest thing, I suppose, in advice, don't go too big, too hard, you know, like I think if you think you're going to build a Rolls Royce tiny home, I think you're losing the picture of what tiny home construction is in the first place. I mean, we originally got into tiny home construction to create affordable housing. Then if you're going to go and knock up a Rolls Royce that's worth 300 grand, I think you're going to limit your market, and you might get disgruntled and then just sort of think, oh, this is all too hard, and walk away from the industry. So my call would be start off smaller, get your feet wet, turn a few over, get the cash flow coming in, learn from your little fundamental mistakes that you'll make. Everyone will make the mistakes, and you're always looking to improve your product. But yeah, start a little bit smaller, and then you can turn them over. If you're too expensive in the first place, you limit your market, and you're not going to have a big turnover, which then you may just sort of lose interest or lose cash flow because you haven't made a sale or something, you know. So I'd that would be probably my number one tip for a startup builder. I was in for a tiny home inspection at your factory and was impressed at how tidy it was. You must have a good apprentice. Well, I'm going to let the secret out, right? You ready for this? I clean all the factory. And Stu, I've got a new salesman on board, Stu. He helps me. We jump into it every morning. We get stuck into it. We clean the factory. We make sure it's as clean as we can get it, so the staff aren't tripping over all tripping over materials and stuff, you know. So it's, the way I see it, a clean factory means that the guys, not only is it more efficient in construction because they're not tripping over stuff, we'll put stuff away, or just make it nice and tidy for them, so they get started with a fresh day, and that's it just sort of, it really flows, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm paying them to build tiny homes, not to clean the floor. So, and I clean the toilets. So hey, I'm not too proud. I'll keep the toilets clean. I'll do the toilet clean every week, no problem. But once again, a clean site, I think, is a safe site. So thank you for that compliment. Thank you very much. Your designs seem so unique. Who's your architect? Probably, I think uniqueness probably because we're doing the 3 metre homes versus, say, most of the other tiny home builders around Australia just are the 2.4 wide homes. They're working under the scenario of a registered caravan, which obviously is 2.4, 4.3 high, and you can go up to length isn't necessarily an issue. So I suppose where we have that little bit of extra flexibility because we are wider, we're 600 millimetres wider than your standard tiny home, that does really give us a blank canvas for design. It just means we can have beds, I like to call them island beds. So when we do design our bed layout, we always like, I always like to design the master bedroom so the queen size bed is walk around. So you can get out of bed, you can walk around the bed, so you can make your bed. So when it comes to fitted sheets, whether you're going to use it as a B&B or your own accommodation, you don't want to be crawling into bed to be able to put your fitted bed sheets on. So I think that's a huge plus, and probably the uniqueness comes from the fact that we are wider. So it does give us a lot more flexibility with design and layout, so we can sort of really sort of make the flow and the mechanics of the tiny home work well. I've been told 3 metre homes are not legal. Can you confirm your homes are legal on the road? Well, I've delivered close to 70 tiny homes now around the state and interstate. I've gone through heaps of weighbridges, and I can tell you, yes, they're illegal. So before I actually got into tiny homes, I did a lot of homework with the RMS, structural with engineers and all sorts of bits and pieces, and ultimately worked on the principle because our trailers are detachable from the tiny home. So effectively, in short, we've got a registered trailer carrying an oversized load. I worked on the principle the way I used to deliver my site sheds, my 3 metre site sheds around our building sites when I was doing high rise. We've got a 2.4 wide tilt tray truck, registered truck carrying an oversized load. So I just worked on that same principle when it came to the design of our tiny homes. So the answer to the question is yes, we are legal on the road. You don't need a permit to transport our tiny homes around Australia, only if you're going in areas the RMS will have, there'll be certain curfew times in Sydney metro areas. At night time, because it's an oversized load, you do need to have a pilot vehicle driving at night time. That's a flashing light and oversized sign at night time. But at the end of the day, the homework that we've done, and the short answer is yes, our 3 metre homes are legal on the road. So it's not just a one-off permit. I don't need a permit to move our homes. Only if I've got to organise a permit. We've got a couple going down south shortly. I want to take the coast road. I've got to organise a road closure. I can't organise a road closure until I've got a permit. So there is certain areas where I do need a permit for oversized load. In holiday season, very hard to get a permit for on select roads or on the coastal roads. So can be done, but we really got to do our homework when it comes to travelling during the holiday seasons. Okay, what do we got? Number 8. Can you confirm what days your display village is open? Well, our display village on the net at this stage, we've only sort of said we're open on Fridays. Stu's come on board pretty well full time with us now, so he's 4 days a week. So what we do, he tries to do all of his. He's come on board as a customer liaison, and he's got about this much work to do in a very short period of time. And it's so funny. He goes over to he'll start off at the factory. We'll do a bit over there, and then you slip over to the display site. And as soon as he cracks that gate open, they just seem to come in droves. It's just like it gets to 4 o'clock in the half. He hasn't even had a chance to turn his computer on, you know. So it's a great spot where we are. It's really high exposure. We're getting heaps of feedback, heaps of people blowing in, checking our tiny homes out. So really blessed to be in such a great spot. So in saying that, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, 10 till 3:30 during the week, and then Fridays will be through till 4 o'clock. So, but if you want to organise any other time other than that, just give us a call, and I can set that up as well. So, not doing so much, inspections now on weekends, because just got cattle, I've got farm work, got all sorts of stuff to do, jobs around the house, there's heaps going on. So, but in saying that, I do inspections on the Saturday, Sunday, but not officially, you know. So, but if there's no other choice, you want to come on a weekend, just give us a call, and I can set that up as well. Okay, I'm about to start building my own tiny home. Any advice for a DIY? Oh, it's, hey, why reinvent the wheel? You know, I'm stoked that people do give me a call. Like I speak to a lot of guys just starting out, guys and girls just starting out, either building their own, want to crack into the tiny home industry, and I'll give them whatever advice I've got. I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, I've got a lot to learn. I've got heaps going on, but you know, I'm sort of one of those guys. If you want me to do something, just ask me, and I'll say yes first, and then I'll work it out later. You know, so but I think do your homework, and I'm stoked that people do give me a call about this because I want people to get into the industry. The more people into the tiny home industry and tiny home construction, I think it's great for the industry, and it just can only improve and make awareness of the actual industry itself. So please, by all means, give us a call if you're starting out or you're going to build your own. Mate, happy to give you advice. In saying that, I think probably one of the fundamental things that perhaps a lot of people make the mistake on, they're unaware on how heavy their tiny home is going to be on completion. They'll put in the marble tops, and they'll put the double glazed windows in, the timber frame with this and that and all the rest of it, and steel frame trailers. All this stuff adds up in weight, you know, like it's, and the last thing you want to do is get to the end, because you've got to try and bring it in under 4.5 tonnes. And of course, if you're above the 4.5 tonne mark, and then you've got to transport it, you know, interstate or whatever, you can't get a permit for overweight. Okay, so you've got to be on the money when it comes to weight. So just be real careful. I think do your sums on your weights. You can pick a lot of this stuff up on the net in regards to how much stuff weighs. So do your homework and at least get it close to the money. And if you want to check it out, because it's very hard to take a home, you go across a weigh bridge just to go and check the weight out. There is mobile weigh bridge guys, contractors that can actually come, which I use, come and I call Ross in. He'll come in and he's got all the scales and stuff like that, and we'll actually weigh the tiny homes before they go out, especially if we're going like a long distance through all your weigh bridges and stuff like that, because we want to make sure it's legal on the road. And so you can do that. If you want some contracts there when it comes to mobile weigh bridge guys, give me a call. I'm happy to give you Ross's number, and he can come out and put the scales down, check your weight out. So then when you go on the road, you know you're comfortable in your weight. You're not going to get slugged with a massive fine and have to go to court. So so yeah, biggest advice I probably could give you: do your homework on weight. Especially if you're going to be transporting your home from where you're building it to where its final resting place is going to be. Number 10, geez, I'm cracking through these this evening. What's the difference between your Tucker's Rest and the Bow River? Okay, now Tucker's Rest and Bow River, now they're the same length, okay? So we designed these under normal caravan specs, 2.4 wide, 5.2 long, and they rack up around about, from the ground, around about 4 metres high. So I like to put about 3 metre ceiling heights. In our Bow River, we have 3 metre ceiling heights. In the Tucker's Rest, we have 2.4 metre ceiling heights. The Tucker's Rest we've designed, it's got a full bathroom, kitchenette, queen size bed, so it's just a single bedroom unit, big windows. Then you've got our Bow River model, which ultimately can actually sleep 6 in the same size tiny home, so 5.2 long. We've actually designed this for crisis housing for your bushfire areas and your flood prone areas. So really easy to tow. They only weigh about 2.7 tonne. You can tow it with a normal 4B, and you can take it on holidays with you. And so it's a great little unit. So the Bow River has, above the bathroom, it's actually got 3 metre ceiling heights. So above the bathroom, we've got a double bed. We've got a nice little kitchenette with a full-size fridge, and then you've got your queen-size bed on the ground floor with a nice little mezzanine. It's only 1.2 metres above it, which is effectively like a lounge room type concept, and massive windows, and it just works. You sort of think, no, there's no way you can fit into this. It's just this many people. But when you actually get into it and you see the room and the space, and I don't know what it is, you know, tiny homes versus caravans, whether it be our tiny home or someone else's at the 2.4, they are massive compared to caravans. I think the caravan industry, I think they just keep, that's what the fellow before him did, so they're just going to keep doing the same. You know, it's just, they just seem to be making the same mistakes, you know, but whereas a tiny house industry, and a lot of the companies out there, they're just using a bit of ingenuity and they're doing this and doing that. And I just think it's awesome. So I reckon you get a better bang for your buck with a tiny home versus some of your caravans, you know. So although a lot of the tiny homes will be a bit heavier than your caravan, but, you know, it depends what you're going to use it for, I guess. Okay, what else have we got? Okay, how much extra is it to install a gantry rather than a separate room? Okay, now that's referring to our models that actually have 2 rooms upstairs, so your lofts upstairs. In most of our homes, the Jackson, the Maverick, the Jolie, all have the second loft, 2 lofts upstairs. So typically we have the staircase going up to your main loft, and then off the landing of that staircase, we'll have a powder-coated aluminium ladder going to your second loft. So we actually create 2 separate rooms. But a lot of our clients, which is very popular at the moment, is our gantry walkway. So you walk up a staircase to your main loft with a 1.8 metre ceiling height, and then you can actually walk, and then we actually join the first loft to the second loft with a gantry walkway. So you actually walk along the gantry to get to your second room. Okay, so that's it's like so rather than going down the staircase and back up a ladder to get the second room, it's really good for people that want to use that second loft as either as a walk-in wardrobe or an office or something like that. So you don't have to go down and back up again. So you just sort of walk straight along. In our pitch roof model, ceiling height, I can actually walk along with a little bit of sort of leaning over a little bit, but I can still walk along to get to the second loft bedroom. But if you go for the flat roof model, you can obviously 6 foot, you can actually walk upright all the way from the main loft to the second loft along the gantry, you know. So that sort of works really well. Very popular at the moment, our gantry walkways, you know. And I was just thinking there, talking about cleaning there earlier on. I was just chatting to the kids. Like as you're aware, we have foster children, and the love kids. We've had four birth children of our own. They've sort of grown up, married off, and got their own kids. And then we also have foster children. Anyway, with the foster kids, I suppose with a lot of kids, you'll probably find this yourself. You sort of ask the kids. I said, "Kids, can you go and feed the chooks?" And they don't move. They just sort of keep looking at the telly or whatever they're doing. It's like, "Kids, can you go and feed the chooks?" And it's like they still don't move. It's like, "Kids, can you go and feed the chooks?" And then they look at you. They've got this look on their face. It's like, "What now?" I'm thinking, yeah. Now, what do you reckon I asked you for, man? Feed the chooks. But it's like they got all their Google, all their iPads, all this sort of stuff. It's like they got to put in their diary or memo or whatever. Oh, better go and feed the chooks. But I want you to do it now. Just go and feed the chooks, can you, kid? What is that? Kids these days, man, it's just insane. It's just like, it just elevates the blood level right up there. It's like, man, I shouldn't have to ask 16 times to go and feed the chooks, you know. But I'm sure everyone else has that issue with their kids as well. And hey, listen, I'm just about on the home stretch here now. I'm going to keep it short and sharp today, but that exciting news I was chatting about earlier, as it turns out, we've got a tiny home delivery going up around the Queensland direction at the end of, September. And as it turns out, the Tiny Home Expo is in Brisbane at the end of, around about the 30th of September. So I thought, on the way through, why don't we sort of blow in and lob our tiny home in and put on display up there, you know. So I gave Faye a call from the Tiny Home Expo. She was fantastic, and she's found us a spot. She's made a spot for us in the expo. So long story short, Havenwood, we're going to do a visit up the Queensland Tiny Home Expo in Brisbane around about the 30th of September. So if you want to check out our homes, by all means, come along, check us out at the Tiny Home Expo. And generally, we're usually too busy because we only program so many shows a year, but the timing was just right. We had one going through. It was like, oh, listen, why don't we just blow in and see if that works for Faye and stuff. And as it turned out, she's made a spot for us. So really stoked. Shout out to Faye. Thank you, Faye, for that. And I'm looking forward to exhibiting up in Queensland. We've never done a show up in Queensland, so that'll be great fun. Lots of builders up there that are coming to the show. So looking forward to chatting to them and seeing what they're up to up in the Queensland area. And looking forward to showing you our 3 metre homes by 4.6 metre homes. Actually, the home we're taking up there, it's got a built-in lounge. It's a Jackson model. No, it's a Jolie model. Okay, it's a Jolie model. It's a pitch roof model. We've got a built-in lounge. It's got a pivot fireplace in it. Fantastic looking home. It's got a deck and an awning on. It's got a bath in the deck. So it's really going to be something I'm looking forward to showing the Queensland people up there. So if you've got nothing on, please come along to the show. And I'm sure everyone will love the guys there. Would love everyone to come along and check out all the tiny homes there on display. So that'll be great. It's great for the industry, and get to see all the different builders and see what they're up to. And the good thing about the shows, I think, when people come through to the shows, they can sort of check out what all the other builders are up to, and then they can find a style or a builder that sort of suits their design criteria and that sort of stuff. So I think that's where it's really good. People can see, come along to the shows, come along to the expos, look at all the tiny homes on display, and then you see them all in the same spot on the same day. So then you'll know which way you want to go with your builder, what style sort of suits you. So I think it's an awesome opportunity for people that are thinking about getting into a tiny home, whether it be for themselves, for a B&B, or for family members. But a great opportunity to jump in, see a heap of builders all in the one spot, same day, so you can check it out. And then you've got it straight in your mind. You can walk around, look at all the builders, and see straight away what sort of style of tiny home suits you and your requirements. So so come along. Look forward to. Make sure you introduce yourself if you watch us here on the live. Make sure you come along and say good day. I'll be there. And I've got Grillsy. He's on his way through. He's going to be dropping it off there for me at the show. I'm going to fly up because I don't have time to drive. So I'm going to fly up and be there at the show. So make sure you stick your head in, come and say good day, and check out our Jolie model tiny home. So looking forward to showing you when you come up. But hey, listen, that's it for me for the day. I've rattled on enough. But if you've got any questions during the week, by all means, stick them. Put them through to us, and then we'll try to answer those at our next live. And if you're looking at getting into tiny homes, give us a call, pop into our display village, or set up another time with me or the girls on the net, and come along and check our tiny homes out. And but yeah, just loving it. I think the industry's going places. I'm excited, and it's for me, it's life after high rise. So loving it. Loving the people, and just meeting a wealth of great people out there that I think what it is, we're all sort of like-minded. We just want to get out of the rat race. We want to get away from the big bucks, spending the $1 million on a house and all this sort of stuff, just sort of going bush and just getting away from it all and getting out of the rat race and with all the politics that come with it, So I think it's an industry that's going places. I'm excited about getting in on the ground floor and yeah, just hooking into it, going for it. So all good. But listen, hey, that's it for me for today. If you've got any questions, give us a call. If you want to have a chat during the week, give me a call. And other than that, have a great week and look forward to chatting to you next weekend, eh? Hooroo.